Finally, Sean has come back home.
This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am Sean Anderson, Most Valuable Podcast, and today I'm finally back, and I couldn't be more excited to be back with Ricky Widmer.
What's up?
Where's the energy, man? Come on.
Well, I needed the what's up? Yeah, that's what I need. I need the stone cold, like, glass shattering behind me.
I usually, when you're like, what's up, like really douchey, it's like, that gets me going. That's like my,
maybe
that's like my
maybe
click.
I wanted to take the wind out of your sails, Mr. Dwayne.
I think it's more that you're just saltier on the other side of the table here.
Oh, I think I'm fine on this side of the table, actually.
I don't know. I kind of prefer you on this side of the table rather than that side of the table.
That's right, Dave. Dave Oster's here as well.
Bring back the We Agree podcast.
Back again, and we don't have to deal with the What's Up Nation. And also, Commander-in-Chiefer doesn't make any sense.
Commander-in-Chiefer makes all the sense in the world.
It's not at the helm anymore. We're back to the Fast Break
podcast.
Podcast.
Commander-in-Chiefers.
That doesn't make any sense. It's the Commander-in-Chief. No one calls the Commander-in-Chief. No one calls the President the Commander-in-Chiefer.
George Bush did.
He's a moron. Anyways.
So?
We're back to
your point being what?
We are back.
Have you seen the two we got going right now?
We are back on the regular Fast Break Podcast. I am Sean Anderson, alongside me is Ricky and Dave, like I already said, and we are previewing the Central Division in the NBA. We got the.
You mean we're talking Bulls?
Yeah, well, I was going to try to say, like,
there
we
are
got
other teams in the Central Division as much as we want to.
Are there?
The NBA champions, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Indiana Pacers, the Detroit Pistons, the Milwaukee Bucks.
They're all champions?
Well, no, the
first one was.
The Cavs are. Anyways,
but let's be honest.
We know what
good teams there.
We know what we're talking about first because we got the two. You guys are fans of the Bulls, so we're gonna jump into the Bulls first, and then we're gonna go and wrap up the podcast with our team rankings because we did the point guard rankings, shooting guard rankings, small forward rankings, power forward rankings, center ranking. I wasn't here for the 6-man or the coaches.
We had rankings.
We have rankings, and we put them all together and compiled them to see which team statistically in our power rankings is the better team. So we'll get to that.
I wonder who's at the top.
And of course, that's according to My Real GM.
Yes, that is according to MyRealGM.com. If you have a problem, go to MyRealGM.com. But anyways, let's jump into the Bulls talk first because we know that's what we're talking about, guys. I mean, even when you guys try to talk 6-man, you still talk Bulls.
This shit's cancer.
Yeah.
Like, I think we can all admit it. Like,
I don't think it's cancer. I think it's great.
Homers are homers. Enough
great.
said. But no, really. I mean, it's the Central Division. We all want to talk Bulls. We're all excited for this year. And I look forward to watching this dumpster fire.
Are we all excited or am I excited? Because every time we talk Bulls, I feel like I'm excited and everyone else is depressed.
The problem is your expectations. I expect this team to be terrible, so I'm just going to, enjoy the ride.
But how terrible?
I'm talking...
I think we can make the playoffs.
You can make the playoffs, but bad.
Like, am I expecting us to go fucking championship and break the record that the Warriors just did? No.
Well, you'd be a moron if you're expecting that.
Clearly, we're the greatest team on paper.
Well, yeah, we are. But
on paper, without injuries and without offense.
I think we can make the playoffs easily.
Easily. Now, that's an interesting thing because there are 4 other teams in this division who all technically have a chance. And I want to say 3 of them ahead of us, clearly. The Bucks are up and coming, and if they could assemble around Giannis properly, like, they're definitely a threat.
It's Team Wingspan.
Yeah, Team Wingspan over there. I totally think that they're not there yet, though. I think the Bulls will hold them off, but I don't really see us. I mean, last year we went 42-40. This year we'll probably be right around that same mark. I don't really see a vast improvement.
I believe in our Southeast rankings when I was here, I think we had 2 teams there. There's pretty much 3 teams locked in for the Central that we'll get to later that are locked in. And then we have the Nets who are competitive, Celtics.
He just said the Nets are. You've been away
Knicks.
for too
I'm
long.
sorry, the Knicks.
You've been away for way too long.
I'm sorry, the Knicks. The other team from New York.
Wow.
The Knicks are competitive. The Celtics are obviously competitive, and the Raptors are competitive. So there's a lot of teams here.
You mean the Knicks are competitive until 2011?
Until they get injured.
But I think the Knicks and the Bulls suffer from the same problems. We're both looking at teams that have some veteran guys who have seen their best days behind them, and now we're just kind of hoping for the best. We're hoping that they stay healthy. We're hoping that they can contribute at a major level still. And I think it's question marks for both these teams.
But the biggest thing the Bulls don't have to deal with, and I know everyone's going to say, Well, yeah, that's it. Everyone's going to be like, well, it doesn't matter. We don't have to deal with all season, is this Jimmy's team? Because guess what? It doesn't matter whose fucking team it is, but sure, it's Jimmy's team now.
But is it Jimmy's team?
Hey, it might be Rondo's
is.
team. Rondo's apparently
is.
showing up people in practice.
Rondo said it day one. You know what? It's Jimmy's team.
But it's Dwayne Wade's city.
Because really, it's a
He's running it.
thing about that, though. Did you hear what he said?
No.
Where he said the first game, he wants his introduction to say, from Chicago, Illinois, because it's just going to sound nice. I can't wait to hear it.
That's gonna be
From
awesome.
Chicago, Illinois, Dwayne. Or do you go Dwayne Wade or just go D Wade?
Dwayne Wade.
You go
gotta
Dwayne.
go full name.
I think you go D Wade.
As our Dwayne on the other side of the table here.
They never did MJ. They never was like number 23 MJ. They always said Michael Jordan.
But that was
man.
You can't take away Michael Jordan.
Well, that's the thing. You can't take away the full name. The full name makes it.
Yeah.
D Wade's a nickname because it's like when they put the nicknames
They
in the
don't
back of the
announce
jersey.
it
It doesn't make any
KD,
sense.
you know.
Yeah. I mean, the thing though about the Bulls is why are you so excited about this team? Because you say you're the only one that's excited. I'm not excited because I'm not a Bulls fan. And where's the shooting going to come from? Because we keep bringing this
There are
up.
clear flaws with this team.
I just feel
Like defense,
like we take, Derek.
offense, coaching,
Perimeter shooting.
bench.
Hoiberg's not terrible, and he's not
He's not great.
he's not the best coach. He's no Steve Kerr, but he's not terrible. I'd rather have him over, I don't know, Atkinson in Brooklyn.
Kenny Atkinson hasn't done anything. So you don't know what Kenny Atkinson can bring.
Do you think he's going to do anything in Brooklyn?
Do you know he's going to do anything? Is Kenny Atkinson a bad coach because of the team around him?
Come on.
I remember we all had Hoiberg about 23, 22 in our rankings.
And where do
so
we have Atkinson?
Atkinson's right there
Because
at the bottom.
because he's on a bad team and he's a new coach. We haven't seen anything. We've seen what Hoiberg can do, and Hoiberg didn't impress
so
that
far
much.
hasn't
Yeah, but okay, here's
put a print on this team.
Here's the thing about Hoiberg. He came into a shit show, which was basically you gave a first-year head coach coming right out of college that much drama. Now, I want to see you deal with that because I couldn't fucking deal with it.
But good coaches deal with
The
it.
problem is he didn't make himself a respectable guy in the locker. Like day one, he should have walked in and be like, "Hey, this is how this shit's gonna run,
And you gotta,
you need to respect me,
and you
because
learn
I'm your
these
coach."
things, but you gotta look at. He came from college.
They walked out all over him.
He came from college, which is a total different mentality where the kids in college look up to you already, whereas in the NBA they don't. And I'm not going to, after one season, go get him out of town because he came in and because
he didn't establish his presence.
Yeah, and now he can take that and change into year two and say, okay, these are things I need to do
Okay,
better.
hold on, but I don't want to directly compare these guys because obviously one had a better team. But I mean, Billy Donovan, he did sign with the Magic, but he never actually coached the Magic. He stepped right out of college.
Billy Donovan, though, is like one of those rare breeds where it's like you knew right away this guy could coach in the NBA. Whereas Hoiberg's like he's not as good as Billy Donovan. That's what I'm going to say.
But even
I'm not going to try to compare him.
Billy Donovan was in the middle of the pack. There's a reason for Hoiberg is below.
Billy Donovan, like it was.
But
I don't want to say he didn't deal with drama, but it was a different drama.
And fair enough. But this year he has different kind of drama. You have a player in Rondo who is a veteran, but who has knowingly and publicly quit on his team previously. You have a guy in Dwayne Wade who is very vocal with the media. You have Jimmy who clearly doesn't watch his comments in the media. He will just say whatever works. So
Well, and that's
I don't know
why
if,
I
don't know if
think-
he's really like you're like, oh no, he can come in this year and be like, I'm the guy, respect me. After you let Rose
I'm not
and Jimmy
saying
walk
come
over him
in
last
and
year.
say like a complete 180, but I
think he needs to keep a tight grip on this team because they can get away from him real quick.
I think Hoiberg's going to come in and he knows what didn't work last year, and any coach has to come into the next year saying, well, what didn't work last year? I got to change this or modify this, adapt or die, basically.
Absolutely.
I think this team, though, like you say with Jimmy Butler, oh, he doesn't watch what he says in the media. I think that this team can basically say, D Wade can come up. You said he's very vocal with the media. D Wade goes, guys, I'm the media guy. Let me do it. Jimmy, you just worry about playing. Rondo, this is your role. I think these guys can work together.
So it kind of sounds like D Wade. It's D Wade's team the way you're saying that.
D Wade is he's the politician, I would say, of the Bulls. I mean, you look at his Snapchat and it's like everything is like, wow, you love this guy. He's trying to winning over the fans, saying the right thing in the media. He's the politician of this Bulls team. Jimmy, all he's got to do to me, go out there and play. Leader of this team, can lead them on the floor.
So you're talking more lead on the floor.
Yeah.
And you want D Wade to lead the locker room.
Yeah, well, he's the veteran presence
Joe
in that locker room.
and Derrick Rose were two veterans right there. What happened with them?
So you think that Derrick Rose... Well, Joe's a different side. Joe was fed up with the injury and not playing as much, and Hoiberg not using him because he wanted to come back, but he was injured.
But he was the locker room guy.
Derrick Rose, do you think he's as mature as D. Wade?
Do you not remember the problems that the big three had right away? They couldn't put that aside right away. They had to get over and grow. They lost to the Mavericks because of it.
Right away. And D. Wade...
It took him a year.
Yeah, but D. Wade, how old was he then?
He 4 years younger.
4 years younger, so 31.
You think D. Wade's going to come into this situation and do the same thing when we just talked about it? I just said it with Hoiberg.
Is this a farewell tour for him? I mean, he doesn't have that many knees.
Who even said farewell?
Not many knees.
He doesn't have good knees.
Well said, Sean.
Nobody said anything about a farewell tour. I look at it as D. Wade.
That's what he's... Yeah.
D. Wade can take what he's experienced in past years and be that guy to say, hey, I went through these problems, like in that situation. I went through these problems in Miami, and if I'm a guy on that team, I kind of look up to D. Wade in the locker room because he's the veteran presence. He's been around the league.
Okay.
He's done his due.
Joe and Derrick Rose were both in Chicago for what, 8+ years, but like
their entire career.
Around 8 or 7 or 6 years. Yeah. They were there. They knew the system. They knew everything. They were fan favorites. Why couldn't they be that? Why couldn't Jimmy Butler look up to guys that he played with for about 3 years before all this happened?
Joe was a guy. I have no problem with Joe. However, at the end, things got kind of sour because like I said, the injury, and he wasn't playing, and he got salty because of that. Derrick Rose, this whole ever since the knee injury and ever since his brother had been getting into his head. He's not a guy that I want leading this team. A guy who says, you know what? I might take off playoff games because I got to think about that next contract. Get the fuck out of here. If you're going to make the playoffs, you're going to fight for this team. I don't want you sitting there going, well, I got to think about my knees, think about that next contract. That wasn't that next offseason. It was 2 off seasons from that.
Paul Gasol dealt with Kobe. He had to go through some locker room troubles. He worked with Phil Jackson. He was 38 years old when he came to the team. Why couldn't he be that team leader? What's different about Dwayne Wade than Paul Gasol? Just because he's from Chicago and you like him more?
No, because I think Paul wasn't a guy to step in and be like, if we're talking Kobe coming into any team.
Paul's been a two-man his entire career.
Yeah, he's been the number 2, whereas like a LeBron, a Kobe. Well,
D. Wade's been a complimentary person since
he transitioned into it recently.
He's been both. When he was at Shaq, he was the guy where Shaq came in and said, hey, you know what, this is your team. He's doing the same thing with Jimmy. Basically coming in, being that Shaq guy when Shaq came into Miami. Not saying we're going to win any championships like that Heat team did, but he can do the same thing to Jimmy.
We'll see. We'll definitely see. I don't think Hoiberg's the right answer, coach, but then again, he's only had 1 year.
Let's see year 2, guys.
That's what I just said. That's what I just said.
It gets me riled up, though, that people are like, get him out after 1 year.
What's your realistic expectations for this team?
7th or 8th seed.
And what record?
Right, or maybe around the same where we're at, maybe 44 wins.
So around 500 is what you're thinking. Do you think
Just
that's a successful year for year 2? What's a successful year for Hoiberg?
Make the playoffs.
That's it?
Yeah, make the playoffs. Because you think about it this way, and I've said it before, Rondo, you can hate that he's here. He's gone after this year. When I heard how they worked his contract and said basically they can cut him at the end of this year, I looked at that as he's a 1-year guy.
Dave, looking at this, realistically, how would the Bulls make the playoffs? Because looking at this team doesn't have that much of a dynamic offense. You can say that they have scores, but I don't know if they're a dynamic offense because where's the shooting going to come from? And, you bring in Rondo. Rondo's not that great defensively. He can get you steals, but he's not that great defensively.
He ends up overextending himself, going for those steals and letting guys blow past him.
And D-Wade's old. D-Wade doesn't have the same agility he does and isn't that great of a defender. You do have Jimmy, and you do have... you have Robin Lopez down low, who's not a great defender, but he's a bad defender in any means.
He's an average center in the NBA.
How is this team realistically going to make it to the playoffs?
We have to.
I asked Dave.
We have to see the young guys step up. That's all I was going to say.
Okay.
I mean, it's a fair point. I mean, it's year 2 for Bobby Portis. It's year 2 for Morotic, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's really going to come down to, can they continue to develop? We didn't see a whole lot of. We watched. Nikolai go hot and cold last year, and I mean in extreme cases he went like I'm going to shoot 5 for 5 from 3, and then I'm going to be 0 for 7 the next 3 games. Like, it was extreme hope, and then just slap it into the ground and just, okay, never mind. That's who this guy is, maybe. So we have to see some further development there. My breakout player that I'm hoping for is Dougie McBuckets. I think he's got a chance to do it this year. I think he'll have a lot more opportunities that are wide open shots due to this penetrating offense. A lot of guys who drive the lane, and Jimmy continued to develop his outside shot.
Well, and another thing is, I know Sean mentioned it earlier, where's the shooting? Dougie and Morotic have to be that shooting.
But they're not going to be in your starting lineup.
Yeah, but they can still be in there as the shooters.
The Bulls can get there with depth, and that's something we've done in the past, and obviously we did it in the past with the assistance of top-tier defense, and we don't have that anymore. Mm-hmm. We're going to be relying a lot on players going off. We're going to need games from Jimmy, games from Dwayne, games from Rondo, where they put up phenomenal numbers like they used to. And thankfully, I mean, between the three of them, they can kind of take their turns. You know, who's going to carry the team each night of the week, which is nice because we did see a little bit out of that with Gasol sharing the load last year with Jimmy, and, you know, they would kind of split that. So I'm happy that they have more options this year. But again, if Dwayne plays 65 games, I'll be happy. I'll be honest, like 65, it seems like a lot. So that's my number for him. That's the make or break point. And this team is totally capable of going to the playoffs. But like I said, you're relying on old players who completely are like it's solo performances is what's going to win this, because we don't have a great system for our offense. We don't have a whole lot of teamwork because we just brought in new pieces across the board. So it's bench mob and it's solo performances, which is going to lead to a lot of interesting fourth quarters and a little bit more hero ball than I think we like to see. But there's still a very good opportunity for them to make the playoffs. I don't want to say it yet, because I think they're going to crash and burn.
We're not at our final predictions yet.
Right.
What do you want to?
I mean, I don't think we're going to crash and burn, but yet again, you can say, well, Ricky, you're a Bulls fan. Of course, you're going to have a little optimism going into the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The only thing like I see with this team, though, is like Dave says, 60-some games out of D-Wade would be great. Well, if D-Wade has to sit a few games, it's weird to say confident, because he's obviously, like, he's not a finished product. He's not like a Ben Simmons coming into the league. But with Denzel, he's the guy eventually that you want to kind of mold this year.
At first, I thought you were saying D Wade wasn't a finished product.
Yeah, D-Wade not.
I'm talking about Denzel.
We haven't seen the peak.
Yeah.
Like, my two big goals, let's say, like, leaving finishing standings out of the way, the biggest success for this team would be if Denzel develops into a guy where I'm like, okay, he's a starter moving forward, and a solid number 2 to Jimmy for the future. And 3, Bobby being in year 2, basically taking that starting role so we can trade Taj at the trade deadline. Two great moves, like developing wise too, that I'd be like, great, I'd love it.
Look, the one thing that I do want to see from this team, weirdly enough, it's under the radar. It's that synergy we saw between Bobby Portis and Felicio. Like, that was awesome to watch in Summer League. They had a pick and roll game between two bigger guys. It was smooth as butter. Like, I think that he's going to get a little bit more playing time with Rolo at center. So I'm excited.
Rolo's not going to be able to play every single minute.
Exactly. I'm excited.
Maybe have that like line system where Taj and Rolo are out there, and then Bobby and Felicio come out.
I think our B team is going to be interesting. I don't like Jerry Grant though. Like,
I'm sorry.
Just blatant honesty.
I'm sorry. Hey, I have fond memories of him at Notre Dame.
And that would be the thing. Maybe middle of the season, like I said, when eventually, in my mind, Bobby Portis kind of overtakes Taj. Maybe we can trade Taj for a point guard or somebody to help this team, or even picks.
And one thing I want to say is, I'm not saying the Bulls are not going to make the playoffs. I'm saying they're definitely in contention. I'm just saying
the East. There's a lot of teams going for those 8 spots.
There is, and there's a lot to worry about this Bulls team. There's a lot to be excited for as well.
How low are the Heat going to fall?
Yeah, no, totally. And there's a lot.
Are the Hawks going to take a little bit of
Chris Bosh? Sad news.
He's coming back, apparently. Apparently, no team can make The Opinion, as he told the uninterrupted.com. No one team, pardon me.
Well, let's wrap up this Bulls talk before we get into other stuff. And the last thing is, Bulls make the playoff if an X player gets in there. So, like, what player are you looking forward to stepping up and being this guy? So is it Dougie McBuckets being a great guy off the bench? Is it D-Wade being this leader? Bulls make the playoffs if X happens. What is it?
If Jimmy Butler takes over.
We need Jimmy dominance. I'm gonna say D Wade shows flashes of last year's playoffs.
I'm gonna say it's all on Fred Hoiberg. He's got to manage this, and he's got to get these guys working, because I mean, you got 3 guys who make their money driving to the lane. You got to get some unity going on where this works.